Maneesh, before we do, generally what I do in Indus meetings is that I start off every speaker with 2 questions.
Okay.
Okay? So, very simple questions. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here? 3. That's. And then you
I can pick 2?
You can pick. Okay, you can pick 2.
Okay, thanks Mukesh. Good morning everyone. My name is Maneesh, part of the SAP leadership team in India. I've been with SAP for about 8 years now. I'm your quintessential non-SAP guy. So what I have been doing in SAP for the last 8 years is everything except for ERP. So I joined way back in early 2006 to start off, quote unquote, what used to be called the technology business. Those of you who remember SAP, beyond even before 2006, the only technology diagram or structure that we used to show was that hexagon, which had SAP R3, FICO, MMPP, and all of these things. So what I had taken up was the NetWeaver business. I started that. It was an interesting thing, starting off technology in SAP. Whenever I used to go and meet all of you and have a conversation around technology middleware, I used to get, what kind of a conversation? But over the last 8 to 9 years, things have changed substantially. Right? I think there has been a lot of organic growth and inorganic growth for SAP. So what I have been doing, to answer Mukesh's question, I have been introducing all of these technology pieces that SAP has built or acquired into the India market. So starting off with the NetWeaver portfolio, the acquisitions that we made around GRC, the other technology components like BPM. I started the business objects business for SAP. I did Sybase. Starting this year, I've been focusing on, quote unquote, a very fluffy word that we call a strategy. What that entails is how do we engage with the ecosystem in India. So when I say ecosystem, it's a combination of customers, partners, employees of SAP as well, to ensure a sustainable growth for the organization in India. To get to the last question that Mukesh had asked, why am I here? So part of the strategy role that I have is also something called customer advocacy. One of the feedback that has been coming from the Indus board, the Indus team, and many of you, is that the interaction of SAP with customers has been very transactional, right? And it has been very unidirectional. We've been doing marketing events, we've been sending mails, as Mukesh is saying, but where is the voice of the customer? Where is, who do we go to in SAP? Right? What do we do? SAP has changed so much. There are so many products, there are so many solutions. What do we do? So what I am trying to do is to put the jigsaw puzzle together to come out with how do we engage with you. I am in a fortunate position in India because the number of customers that we have here is significantly large compared to the other countries. The other benefit that we have is a very strong engineering team. So we have about 5,000 to 6,000 employees in SAP labs who are working on technology and products across the SAP spectrum, right from applications to technology to analytics to even the cloud applications that we've started. So how do we get that internal ecosystem across to you, right? So you talked about the conviction of Mukesh on Indus. So Indus has been around for 5 years, right? And we have 600 customers. It's not great. We have more than 5,000 to 6,000 customers in India of SAP, and that amounts to only 10% of people in Indus. One important thing that you'd notice that the SAP logo is not here at this event. This is not an SAP event. It's on my slide, but not on the event, because it's driven by Indus. So while Mukesh, yes, he is a facilitator from SAP, he drives customers to get engaged, but Indus is an independent community. So what we'd like to do is to increase that participation amongst yourself, right? SAP might not have all the answers. We make all the products, solutions, and technologies, but during implementations, you come out with problems, you come out with solutions to those problems as well. So can we facilitate that peer group as well as across the ecosystem interaction so that the knowledge gets out, right? And you get more out of the investments that you've made, whether that was 20 lakhs or 1 crore that Mukesh talked about, but at least you're getting something out of SAP. When I was asked to do this session, I was asked for a topic, what should I do? When I looked at the agenda, there were already topics around solution manager, the new things, localization, etc., that are coming up. Strategy is something that I thought I'll talk about, but that's a conversation that can go on for the whole day. Right? What are we doing on strategy? What I would do in the next few minutes is try to condense what SAP is doing. I don't intend to talk about products. I'm sure you already get a lot of emails, attend a lot of events. What I would appreciate is more of a collaboration in terms of you can ask me questions, right? Hopefully I can answer most of them. The ones which I can't, I promise to get back to you. Okay. Long answer to those 2.5, 3 questions. So what's happening on technology? As I mentioned, we've come a long way from the hexagon model. The hexagon model evolved into something that we used to call, anybody remember BPP? Business Process Platform? So that's what NetWeaver used to be called. We had the Enterprise Services Repository, right? Remember all of those SOA related stuff that we used to talk about? Nowadays, the whole industry, not just SAP, is talking about the 5 buzzwords: social media, analytics, cloud. I like to sort of condense it and call it SMAC. It's SMAC, if you remember, it's like a drug that we talk about, right? We can keep talking about technology, but I think one thing that has differentiated SAP from any other technology provider over the last 40 years is our focus on the business outcomes. I think technology is a facilitator. The business outcome is the most important part. Our solution go-to-market, the way we engage with customers, the way we package our solutions is always around industries. Because we realize that our customers sit in industries and use our solutions to solve problems in those industries. And then if you look at any organization, right, across these industries, there are essentially 4 things that they focus on. They focus on the customers, which is why they exist, where they're trying to solve a problem for the customer. They have employees, which they manage to make sure that they deliver for these customers. They have a set of resources. It could be a manufacturing organization, it could be a services organization, but they manage these set of resources to deliver something to the customer. And the 4th most important part is they have networks. These networks could be their partners, their vendors, their suppliers, their dealers, or whatever, but these vendors. Any organization uses these set of technologies to engage with these 4 pillars, right? And we've been always looking at these 4 things and focusing on, okay, if this is the eventual outcome that our customers are looking at, what do we need to do at a technology level, right? Where do we move from today to tomorrow where the customer is going, right? So customers over the last few years have been coming back and saying, I need to get closer to my customer. I need to reach out to them. So obviously mobility comes right up there. I need to have access to information all the time. Again, mobility comes back. Okay? I need to connect with the explosion of the internet and the changes that have come up. I need to connect with all my dealers, suppliers, even employees. So how do you get cloud applications? How do you get networks? Right? How do you get everybody onto the same platform? And at the same time, with all of the information that is exploding, how do you manage this data? So if you look at the acquisition strategy of SAP as well over the last few years, while we've had many before business objects, we acquired things around technology as well, but I think the most significant one was the analytics acquisition of business objects. One of the pet peeves, so all of your customers, you would remember, everybody used to say it's very structured to get information into SAP, but getting information out of SAP is very difficult and very clunky. So business objects was the acquisition which we made to facilitate the enterprise reporting query analysis related stuff, right? And it was very successful in terms of customers coming back and saying, yes, finally my board, my management team is able to use SAP, right, beyond the SAP screens. And I don't even want to start a topic on the SAP screens yet. After that, we made acquisitions of Sybase. People talk about the Sybase acquisition more focused on mobility, but I would say that's 50% of the focus. The other 50% is data. Sybase, I'm sure many of you know, was the first relational database that was introduced into the market. They have a very rich set of tools to do data management, things like replication. So if you go down the stack, while the outcomes are fine, but how do you manage all of the data? So when, for example, when the unfortunate 9/11 happened, the time the devastation was taking place, there was technology underneath that was replicating all the data out of those systems into another site in real time. Right? Those are the tools that Sybase provides. Okay. So when we were looking at things on where is technology headed, we were looking at those tools. The event processing, what do we do? Right? After that, we started looking at, okay, we have analytics, we've got the technology data layer and the mobility layer in place. Let's look at the networks, right? What are the various networks that our customers are interested in getting into, right? Ariba was the natural choice, the leading solution for supplier connectivity. We've also been doing a lot of things with our own network, which we've launched recently, which is around banking. Way back in 2007, we started experimenting, and we've done this in India as well, of connecting our banks with customers like you. So every end of day, there's a clearing that happens with any organization in the bank, right? And if you look at the India customer base, many of the large customers are SAP. So can we connect each of our SAP customer to the bank, right? This concept, which was started in this part of the world, got taken up by SAP, and we've launched a banking network on the cloud, right, where reconciliations of a lot of SAP customers globally can happen online with the banking network. So, I can go on, but these are the different technology pieces which we've started to put together. Then the most important one, where a lot of feedback came in terms of cloud, right? The definition of cloud, as I was mentioning to Jason, you can have different definition. Everybody has their own version of what is cloud, right? But if you break it down, it's infrastructure as a service, it's platform as a service, and software as a service, right? We've also taken a look at these three pillars separately and try to see, okay, what is SAP's strategy and play in each of these pillars? Our acquisition of SuccessFactors and Ariba clearly is a software as a service kind of a play, where we are offering a solution on the cloud that can be consumed by our customers without having to go through the installation, the upgrades, the configuration, etc. Okay. For platform as a service, I'm sure you guys are all aware of these topics, right? Am I okay? Okay. For platform as a service, I always used to get this question around how secure is NetWeaver? How scalable is NetWeaver, right? When you compare it to the other middleware technologies out there. And the only answer I used to give, after which there was no conversation, was about 60 to 70% of all businesses run SAP, and every SAP system runs on NetWeaver, right? Which is, it takes care of security and scalability, because that's your business is running on that application. That same platform, we've enhanced it, coupled it with the HANA technology that we have launched a few years back. This is available as a platform as a service on the cloud. You can start creating applications on it. You can go onto the HANA cloud. If you want to create a hello world called like a web application, you can do it. So we are offering that platform as a service for you to start creating your applications. Again, you will see over the next few months, also in the next few quarters, SAP starting to package a lot of our own functionality from Business Suite into cloud services, which you can consume when you're creating these applications on the cloud. Okay. The third piece, infrastructure as a service. So we are not in the, we're not in the business of what Amazon does or what the other data centers do. Our focus is business applications. So we launched a few months back something called the HANA Enterprise Cloud, right, which is our own sort of quote unquote SAP data center where customers can bring their applications, the SAP applications, and we will host, manage, and run them. Right? We provide the storage, we provide the servers, etc. So that's our infrastructure as a service offering. Any questions?
What is the relationship with VMware?
So SAP works with a lot of other technology providers as well, like VMware, like Adobe, like Cisco, etc. The relationship with VMware is more around all of you have come back to SAP and said, we have started to virtualize our environment. So when we want to virtualize our servers, will all the solutions of SAP work in a virtualized environment on top of VMware? Right? So that's where we had worked with VMware to ensure that all of our applications run as is in virtualized servers of VMware. So it is certified. That is the relationship with VMware.
How many success stories do we have with VMware when we can say yes, we can depend on that kind of cloud?
So I don't have the number right now. I can get you. There are customers in India as well who have virtualized their servers on VMware.
How happy are they?
I have not gone back and asked.
So just to add, is there anyone here in the room who is actually doing what is done? So,
see, VMware has deployed already SAP system on VMware around 2011. And for last 3 years we are using it and we have not any problem till now. At the same time, the replication goes also on between the two primary media servers. And I would prefer every SAP should definitely be virtualized. Earlier the issue was in 2010 was the Oracle. That was the key issue, where Oracle used to say that we don't support VMware. SAP says we support VMware. That was one of the biggest problem till now. Okay, recently I think they have announced that Oracle will also be supported on VMware.
I went to that conference for VMware for 3 or 4 or 5 days. I went to a very heavy learning session. And there apparently SAP was not very, they didn't talk about SAP and they were being very comfortable with each other. So I don't know, you are saying something to me.
See, it is, maybe let us say at Microinc.
Virtual or real, I don't know.
See, at Microinc, let us say all my applications are virtualized. 100%.
so I
Okay, you can also go through the VMware, let us say site, look for case studies mentioning about Microinc.
So
this is that now that you guys know each other, you can obviously connect and take this discussion forward. Yeah. So the idea of Indus and such forums to enable such connections.
There is another guy also wanted to say, I think there was another guy. Yeah. I want to listen to him as well.
I'm from Aditya Birla Group. Okay. And we are a conglomerate. Most of our business, if I have to name around say 5 to 6 businesses, we had standalone landscapes from HP Unix, IT name platform to Windows x86. Most of them we have migrated to VMware RHL based platform. And the scale, if I have to say, recently we migrated around 1,000 users of SAP onto cloud. Yeah, both India and Thai chemicals, everything was running on it. Nagda we will slowly move. We're looking out for. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry. Just to answer that, Nagda has 2 plants. One is the chemical and the VSF. The chemical has been migrated to cloud. No. The pulp and fiber. Pulp and fiber. Chemical Nagda has been migrated, but VSF we're working it out. Thanks.
Thank you.
and just to add, my ex-boss, Sanjay Poonan, who used to run the solutions across SAP globally, is now part of VMware. So I'm sure the collaboration between SAP and VMware will increase for sure. Again, I was challenged when wanted to show one view of what is it that we're doing in SAP end to end. But I think the slide jumped.
Will you share this with us?
Yes, I can.
Is there any secretive document?
No, there's nothing.
All of the content that are going to be displayed will be available on the tab and everything. So you'll get the invites, you can accept the invite and access all the invites.
There's nothing secret in this in this one. But again, beyond that hexagon, it's become very difficult to slot everything into one slide for SAP nowadays. I know you'll remember, I love doing the blackboard kind of a session to take you all the way from the data level to the top, because now I think we stop at the database. We don't go below that. But database, then get on to the data management, then get on to the middleware, then the BPM layer, then the application layer, then the portal layer, then the user interface, then the mobility. So on each layer, and then you have verticals around security and manageability. But then difficult to map. But I think this slide captures what we are doing. I think what this is saying is those 4 pillars that I talked about, the customers, employees, partners, and the resources. SAP, a lot of things that we do, we perceive to be in the middle, where we're looking at optimizing resources, helping you run better, which is our tagline. But I think what we've also started to do with the acquisitions and with a lot of things that are happening in the market is to look at the other 2 edges, right? On the bottom layer, how are we going to be interacting with our suppliers? So all of our solutions have started to look at the network pieces, right? Once Ariba has come in, how do we leverage the Ariba network to get a virtual cloud of all the suppliers that interact with SAP customers globally, right? And then again, tie it back into their on-premise or on-the-cloud SAP systems, which are using analytics, mobility, cloud, etc., so on and so forth, right? Again, on the front, right, you have an explosion of different things. Mobility is just one of them, which is, it could be consumer-led or employee-led. But on, let's say, simple things like manufacturing, right? If you have the Internet of Things coming in, how do you start getting that kind of information back into your systems and take decisions around it, right? Or even processes that are going to be coming out. So all of our technologies and solutions have started to focus on this piece as well. And you will see a lot of technologies coming out. Again, the reason SAP HANA, we talk a lot about it, is not because it's a fast database. I don't like to call it a database, it's actually a platform, right? You can use it to create new edge applications. So the way we understood technology 30, 40 years back, that's how it is architected today. That's how we are running it. SAP started the 2-tier architecture, decoupling it from mainframes. Then came the 3-tier architecture, right? We are saying, why do we need an N-tier architecture? If the technology has advanced in terms of hardware and software, why can't we collapse everything into a single system, right? Again, we'll take care of the 99.999 kind of availability, but why can't we collapse everything into a single platform so that running it is better, managing it is better as well, right? You don't have to think about moving data around. So you might have multiple applications. Then when you start thinking of analytics, or even start thinking of creating new processes, you have to get the data together. And that's when the problem starts. And I'm sure you guys have gone through it as well. So HANA becomes our centralized platform to facilitate these new age applications. And a lot of technology in SAP is starting to get rewritten to leverage the HANA platform. Any discussion on technology will be incomplete without talking about user interface as far as the SAP context goes. So we admit the SAP user interface is not one of the best out there. I think the focus for SAP over the last 30, 35 years had been to focus on the process, to make sure that it is unbreakable, to make sure that it is efficient, and it takes care of everything. So if you're canceling an order, everything downstream related to that order, right down to manufacturing in the plant, should get triggered as well. So that was our focus, and the user interface was more back office oriented. I think now with a lot of these acquisitions that we've made, there's a fresh lease of user interface that has also come out. We've started to create new look and feels, whether it's in terms of Lumira for analytics or the other user interface that we're talking about. You will see a lot of changes that are going to be coming out, and many of the delivery model is going to be on the cloud, which actually moves me to my next one. Yeah.
Yeah, so on user interfaces, SAP has newly come with personas. Just wanted to know how successful it has been, and do you have any, customers who would say would like to talk about it?
I don't know if there are any customers here who are using personas.
No, maybe not here, but it can be anywhere in India.
I can comment on this. So I'm from SAP. So personas are the custom solution given by SAP. So it's not a standard offering. So if after the session I can share the link with Mukesh and he can send you the related information around personas. Yeah. So I would say that most of the customers who are active and actively using personas are in Americas, and from India I don't.
There are a few in India as well.
Okay. So I would try to find out somebody who's doing in India, but we could find somebody and give you a suitable link.
So personas, the two customers that I know are implementing. It's a new solution. We launched it just at Sapphire. So there are two customers who are implementing. I can get you more details on that.
So what else is
Solution in India? Okay.
who owns it?
Okay.
So I'll take this as a feedback for us and try and see if we can share some of the information that is already available for people to see on one case, so that we can see it there. Also, at any point in time, if you have any such query, just drop over to invest and someone will does it. I am today. My place.
I have a query for you.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know whether many people around here know what SAP Design Guild does.
Design?
Guild.
Okay.
Can you highlight that, because
Are you talking about design thinking?
Design Guild.
Okay.
So, design with this close community of users who do testing for design, new designs, SAPs and a lot of the UI interfaces. So, it's a global closed community, and anyone who's interested in participating as a end user to test what SAP is putting out in terms of design can join the design guild. So it's a UI UX kind of a community that is primarily active in the US.
That's not true for this.
At least that's the information that I have.
That's why I said the question for him. That's why I didn't ask you the question. I asked the question to him. Design guild basically is the group of people within SAP in Germany who do a lot of updates on user interface.
User interface UX.
You understand?
Yeah. So
That's
I.
why I don't want you to ask. I don't want you to ask. He said he doesn't know, it's sure.
Okay. So
What this gentleman said was very correct. He said it's being customized by SAP for certain customers for which we don't have enough information, so you will look at it and give it to us. Is that what he said? Right? So I accept that.
So personas is not exactly a custom solution, it's a product. Okay? I'll
And it's customized for
It-
certain customers. If I heard it right.
no, it's customized for certain scenarios of usage which we have productized, which we are selling. So it's, if anybody in this room wants to buy, for example, I have a standard product, standard price, which I can go and sell. It's not, for you I will make it and give it to you.
The reason why I provoked this scenario was, sorry,
Yeah?
because I want you to take a feedback from users like me,
Sure?
where German users may have a certain need of a certain user interface, but Indian users definitely would not want to use that kind of interface because for them it's not comfortable.
I agree.
Because I'm also part of the education industry in this country, where I teach fundamentals of ERP and what SAP is trying to teach to its highly complex interfaces students who they would appreciate what's going to come in the next couple of years to out to the coming generation again. So the point is, design guild is a very highly close-knit body in SAP. And it's so highly close-knit that they will not send you mails until you really know them.
So, if you notice, I brought up the topic of user interface because I know it's a painful topic. You are right that there's no German in the room. The German way of looking at things is very structured. They like to see a lot of things in one place so that they can correlate. But a lot of the other worlds, and I think India sort of is aligned to the US way as well in terms of simplicity. They are looking at that kind of interface. So a lot of these solutions that I'm talking about that are coming out of our Palo Alto labs. That said, the second piece, the follow-on part to your comment, is the reason why this guy is pushing the Indus group. The feedback.
I'm only saying that that's very important.
No, feedback taken.
I never received any mail from Indus except asking him to go to seminar.
That's a feedback for him.
No, sir. If you are getting one email, I am sure you should be getting other set of emails as well.
So
because I'm a very poor speaker and I couldn't get a tab on it.
let me interrupt.
Or I get invited only because people like you call me. It's because at the end of the day, there is somebody who's going to bring about something.
Which is good, which is nice, and I call a spade a spade. I'll give you bold answers, so we can take this offline. A follow-up point to your question earlier in his session around the university alliances. Indus is not entirely around the education piece. There is a separate program for university alliances. I can connect you there as well.
So, Maneesh, all invites from Indus for all Indus activities also go to the guys who run the university alliances program, and they decide which invites to forward to their professors.
Sure. So but feedback taken.
I have not received, to be honest with you, but I have also told you guys that it was an extremely competent personality whoever did this organization to get me there. Because nobody likes me. So if you got me, it's a great thing. First of all, let me tell you. Okay. There are many things that I would like to talk about here, but it's not within the scope of the discussion, so I don't want to.
We can have the conversation over coffee. I am happy to have a conversation. I'm telling you, I'm going to have the conversation. Don't worry about it. The next one, where a lot of questions come around, okay, what is cloud for SAP? Is it, I can buy software subscription licenses of SAP? What do I do, etc. I think, you peel the onion of cloud, what definition a specific customer wants to use for the problem that he has at hand. I know customers who have had their SAP applications hosted in a data center, in a remote data center way back in 2007 itself, where they have been using it, where the infrastructure is managed by somebody else. They just pay a per month license plus usage fee to that provider. Okay, so that has existed for a while now. What customers are starting to play around with today is also to quickly deploy a test dev environment in AWS, bring up an instance of SAP in AWS, bring up a demo environment so that they can play around with things, let's say a persona things, can I see how it works, before deciding to see if they want to do it on premise. Then there are customers who are now deploying everything into a HANA Enterprise Cloud that I talked about. Okay, I just want SAP to manage it. There are customers who are deploying it into another managed cloud service provider. So everybody mixing and matching. The last one is applications like the success factors, Ariba or Salesforce, etc. They're your pure software as a service where you don't care about anything except for the usage, right? You're just buying the application usage. That is also there. Okay, so the conversation with customers is across this. So when you ask, SAP doesn't do cloud, what does that mean? It does. I think it's more important to understand what do you want and how can you consume these things. Many customers have now started to do the hybrid model. So they are having the ERP on premise, they have the HR system, let's say SuccessFactors on the cloud. They're starting to integrate these two things and looking at, okay, how do we start doing new things on a hosted or a cloud-based application and integrate it back onto the on-premise. It's sort of like the outsourcing model. I want to keep my core internal, but for others, where I'm okay with the volume kind of thing, I can outsource to a cloud view. So that's the conversation that we're having. I think the important thing that I wanted to bring out here is the conversation with SAP has now changed. Right? We can have a conversation around the VMware piece, which we talked about. We can have a conversation around hosting. We can have a conversation around data management, middleware, technology pieces, mobile application development, the ERP pieces, supply chain, etc. I think that's the important part, but the most important one where we focus on is the business outcome. I think that's our guiding principle. Okay, and we encourage customers also to start looking at how will a particular technology help you. Just because, let's say HANA is fast, doesn't make sense. What is the business impact? Just because everybody else is deploying mobile applications doesn't mean that you have to. What is the business improvement that would come from deploying a mobile applications? And we have a lot of content in terms of benchmark data, where we have data around how customers have benefited from using a lot of solutions in business processes, which we share in our engagements. To summarize, that's what is driving our technology strategies. We want to make a lot of things simple in terms of managing your infrastructure as well, and you hear a lot about it in the solution manager session, because solution manager remains the central nervous system for all of these applications. How do you manage all of these things together? Okay. So that was a quick 5-minute snapshot of what we're doing from a strategy perspective. Happy to take questions. Happy to have a conversation during coffee as well. Thank you.